Today I'll be going over Let's Be Rational Quiz 1 review. Number 1 says, decide if each sum is closest to 0, half, or 1. Explain your reasoning for each. Be very careful because it asks for the sum. So we have 1/2 plus 1/4. So the first thing we have to do is find the sum in order to decide if it's closest to 0, a half, or 1. If I'm going to add fractions, I'm going to go ahead and put them one on top of each other. And then I need to find a common denominator. In this case, I'm going to use 4. 1 times 4 is 4, so 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4, so 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 2/4 plus 1/4 is 3/4. So I have 3/4, and I have to decide, is that closest to 0, a half, or 1? So if I look at my number line, at 0, 1/2, and 1, since I have a denominator of 4, I'm going to rename these with fractions that have 4 in them. 0/4, 2/4, and 4/4. 3/4 is going to lie right here. To get from 2 to 3 is exactly 1. To get from 3 to 4 is exactly 1. That means this lies exactly in the middle. When you find a fraction that lies exactly in the middle, you're going to round up. Therefore, you're going to say that the sum is closest to 1. B says 0.2 or 2/10 plus 1/3. To do this, I'm going to have to make them both be fractions because you can't add decimals and fractions. So I'm going to rename this 2/10 plus 1/3. Okay. Again, to add fractions, I'm going to rename these so that they have the same denominator. 30 would be their lowest common denominator. 10 times 3 is 30, so 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 10 is 30, so 1 times 10 is 10. 6 plus 10 is 16 over 30. I could choose to reduce this first, or I could choose to do it this way. It doesn't really matter. You're going to come up with the same answer. I'll go ahead and just do it as is. 1/2, 0, and 1. I'm going to rename my fractions so that they all have 30s. So this would be 0/30, 15/30, and 30/30. So 16/30 is going to lie right here. So clearly we're going to say that this is closest to 1/2. And our reasoning is because it is 1/30 from a half, and it's 14/30 from 1. So clearly it's going to be closest to 1/2. Number 2. Number 2 says, circle which sum is closest to 1. Explain your reasoning. So you have 3 problems to solve before you can even answer this. You have A, B, and C. Once we get the answers, we then have to decide which one is closest to 1. So this one, again, I can't do fraction and decimal, so I'm going to rewrite this as 8/10 plus 3/4. Rewrite this one. One on top of the other makes it a little easier. This one is said 2/10, so we write 2/10. You could reduce that to 1/5. All right, so to add these, I need to find a common denominator. I will choose 40. And 10 times 4 is 40, so 8 times 4 is 32. 4 times 10 is 40, 3 times 10 is 30. So I end up with 62/40. I could choose the easy route and just reduce by 2, which gives me 31/20. 20 goes into 31 one time, and it has a remainder of 11. So this one is 1 11/20. This one, I have to find a common denominator. I will choose 20. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 5 is 20, so 1 times 5 is 5. So I have 8 plus 5 is 13/20. That's my answer here. Now I have this one. I'm going to choose 20 again. 10 times 2 is 20. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 4 is 19/20. Okay. So it wants me to determine which one is closest to 1 and explain my reasoning. So if I think about this logically, it takes 20 20ths, since all of these have a 20. 20 20ths is 1. So this one is 19 20ths, so I only have to add 1 20th. It's only 1 20th away. This one, to get to 20 20ths, I'm 7 20ths away. This one, I'm becoming backwards, which is fine. But I would have to get rid of this to get to 1. So that means I'm 11 20ths away. So this one is going to be the closest because it's only 1 20th away. Number 3 says, I am making 1 cup of pudding. The recipe calls for 1/5 of a cup of chocolate and 1/10 of a cup of sugar. And we don't know how many cups of milk. But we know that it's going to add up to be 1 cup because it says that we're making 1 cup of pudding. What fraction of the cup will be milk? Write a number sentence to support your answer. So first we have to figure out, there's 2 ways to solve this. We could either find out how much we have, and then, so that would be adding this and subtracting it from 1, or we could find common denominators and then figure out how much more we need to get to 1. So I'm going to do the second way. Since 5 and 10 are so easy, if I'm going to make this have a 10 on the bottom, we did 5 times 2 is 10, so 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 2 tenths and 1 tenth, and to get to 1 cup I need 10 tenths, so that means I'm missing 7 tenths. To come up with your number sentence, you could say 2 tenths plus 1 tenth plus 7 tenths equals 1 cup. All right, number 4. I'm going to get a new sheet of paper. Number 4 says, Mr. Gomez ordered 4 pizzas for some members of his cross-country team. The 4 of them ate the following amounts. Scott ate 2/5 of a pizza. Nate ate 1/2. DeWay ate 3/5. And Mr. Gomez ate 7 tenths. How many pizzas did they eat? Write a number sentence to support your answer. So to find out how much they ate, we're going to have to add them together, which means we're going to write them one on top of the other. And then we have to find a common denominator. Well, luckily we have an easy one here. It's 10. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6. 10 times 1 is 10. 7 times 1 is 7. So now we add them up. We have 4, 9, 15, 22 tenths. Can't leave the answer like this. We need to divide. 10 into 22 goes 2 times. We put a remainder over our divisor. And now we can reduce. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So they ate 2 1/5 pizzas. And then the B, this was A. B says how many pizzas were left. Write a number sentence to support your answer. Okay, well, we started off with 4 pizzas. And we ate 2 1/5 pizzas. So 4 minus 2 1/5. Again, there's more than one way to solve this. You could figure out how many more fifths you need to get to 4. I'm going to go ahead and subtract. I can't do the problem as is. I'm going to have to come up with our fraction over here. So I'm going to borrow from the 4 and make it a 3. And I'm going to add 5/5 here. I chose 5/5 because this is a 5. And it equals 1, which is what we borrowed from here. 5/5 minus 1/5 is 4/5. 3 minus 2 is 1. So we say 1 4/5 pizzas left. 5 says, find each sum or difference, show all your work. Number 5A is 1/3 plus 1/2. You have to find your common denominator. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. You end up with 5, 6. B, 2.5 plus 4 and 3/8. Got to find a common denominator. I will choose 8. 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 and 7/8. C, this is when it gets a little trickier when you have subtraction sometimes. Got to have a common denominator. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. 3 times 5 is 15. 16 minus 15 is 1/20th. 1/20th. D, last one. 8 and 3/5 minus 5 and 13/15. We first need to find a common denominator. This will stay the same. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 3 is 9. I cannot do 9 minus 13. I'm going to borrow from the 8, and I borrowed a 1, so I have to add 1 over here. I'm going to add it like it is a 15 over 15 because this is a 15. So I have 9 plus 15 is 24 over 15. Now I have 24 over 15 minus 13 over 15, which is 11/15, and 7 minus 5 is 2. Again, there's more than one way to solve many of these. I tried to go over the ones that were the most common way of solving it. Please see me before the quiz if you have questions. Thank you.